heard me talk about Mike Lindell, who I adore. You know, he's the inventor of My Pillow, and how that pillow has given me a good night's sleep that I need. In fact, I never knew how good I could sleep before I had my Pillow. Mike continues to roll out new offers on his products, and the latest one is on his towel sets. Towels aren't something you think about often. I never knew what I was missing until I tried the towels just last year. Now, you have all helped build My Pillow into the incredible company that it is today, and you've trusted Mike Lindell to give you a great night's sleep. Mike's now changing the game with his 6-piece towel set. The set's made with USA cotton, making it extremely absorbent, and yet still providing that soft feel you look for in a towel. The set comes with 2 bath, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths, typically retailing for $109.99. But for a limited time, you can get this set for the low price of $39.99. And that's using promo code samsorbo. So remember, all My Pillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. You just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener specials to get this insanely low price of $39.99 on the towel set. You'll find deep discounts on other My Pillow products as well. So enter promo code samsorbo, or you can call 800-625-5983. That's 800-625-5983 for these great radio specials. Hi, this is Sam Sorbo. I want to invite you all to join me at the Playbook for Home Learning Conference put on by Underground Education. There's a new community that started online called the Underground Education Community. You can find it by going to samsorbo.com. You can also find all the information about the conference, about how to approach education with your kids. Times are hard for parents right now. There's a lot going on in the schools that we don't like. But I'll tell you something, home learning is easier than you ever thought it could be and more fun than you ever imagined. So join me at the Your Playbook for Home Learning Conference this June 24-25 in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And we're going to have a great time. Go to samsorbo.com for more information on everything. I'll see you there.
So I'm at this dig in Shiloh, and I have a golf hat, and we're rolling.
Hi.
So easy on camera.
Hi, Sam.
Easy on the eyes. Scott Stripling runs this entire project at Shiloh, or Shiloh.
Yeah, Americans say Shiloh, the rest of the world says Shiloh.
Shiloh. Okay, so now that's a lesson to you. You know that. And he is a world-renowned archeologist, best in class.
I guess you could say that,
right?
Sure.
Okay, I'll say it. Best in class. He's not shy.
Well, I'm not camera shy, right. But these are exciting things to talk about.
And the filming is going so well. This is our last day at Shiloh, but we're hoping that we're going to find something of great importance today with the walls of the would-be tabernacle.
We've got a platform of the tabernacle, it appears, that matches the dimensions given in the Bible. And all we need is one more corner to be certain. And we've had a lot of people who've worked really hard to get to this point. And now Kevin is going to join me in the square. And hopefully we're going to reveal that corner this afternoon.
Him all dusty and dirty.
It's going to be cool.
Let me ask you, how do you know the dimensions from the Bible? Aren't they sort of contested somehow?
But not a lot. We're talking about measuring in cubits. And so with ancient measurements, is it the Egyptian cubit or the royal cubit?
Right.
Sometimes a cubit was the span from your elbow to the tip of your hand. Well, some men it's this long, some men it's that long. So it is somewhat subjective. So all I can say is that we're very closely matching the dimensions given as we understand them.
As you understand them. So you've got one corner. You've got an old Roman wall that was built on top of what you're thinking is a Jewish wall.
Right.
And you've got the corner, so you've got 2 walls now.
That's right.
And you're looking to uncover that next cornerstone.
That's right. And we've got the cross walls, the perpendicular walls also, that would separate the Holy of Holies from the holy place. So where Kevin's going to be digging in just a few minutes, if I'm right, is literally in the Holy of Holies. And I mean, if that doesn't
He's got to wear his sunglasses.
Yeah, I mean, if that doesn't light your fire, your wood's wet, as we would say in Texas, okay? I mean, this is as good as it gets.
And you are from Texas.
I am.
But you love it over here.
I do. This is my second home, and I've spent a lot of my life over here excavating, so I'm equally comfortable in both places.
And it's very clear that you absolutely love the science of archaeology.
Yeah.
Because why?
The better that I can understand what happened in antiquity, what happened in biblical times, the sciences unlock that to me. So it enables me to have a lens or a time machine where I can go back and I can then begin to understand exactly what their diet was, how did they dress, how did they worship, what did the tabernacle look like.
Why isn't there like a good enough record of the tabernacle? Why don't we have that?
Well, we have the biblical account, but of course this language is thousands of years old.
It's easy for people to say that's a good story.
Right, and so what archaeology does, Sam, it never changes the text, it illuminates the text, okay? So that then we can understand it here and now the way that they did then and there.
Right, but what's special about Shiloh is we think that the tabernacle, which housed the Ark of the Covenant, it's a tabernacle, it's a meeting place that only certain people were allowed to go in. We think that it might have been here for long enough to have become a permanent dwelling. So talk about that transition.
Okay, sure. It starts in the text itself. Folks at home can read 1 Samuel 3, and at the beginning of the chapter, they'll see that the language is temporary. The curtains of the tabernacle.
Right.
By the end of the chapter...
It's fabric.
Right, just as it's described in Exodus. But by the end of the chapter, now you're talking about the walls of the tabernacle and the door of the tabernacle. So the language has changed. Even in English, it's clear. In Hebrew, it's even more clear. Something has changed. Now, we have two sources in the Mishnah. This is like 2nd century AD Jewish literature. And in both of these sources, it talks about a stone platform at Shiloh with walls and a tent over it. So it's a quasi-tabernacle tent.
So they adapted the tent to include walls.
It is. Remember when we were filming in the city of David last week? And I showed you the structure there next to the Gihon Spring, and we talked about there was a tent that was over it, and that's where David's tabernacle was. Same kind of an idea here.
Right. And because they were nomadic people, typically it would have started out as just a tent because they had to be able to take it down and move it.
The Israelites are nomads. Their God is perceived as sort of a desert God, even though he lets them know that he's the God of everything. But when they come into their own land, they become what we would call semi-nomadic. So they start building structures, but they still use tents as well. So this is a great illustration of half and half.
If you've got it here, you've got something really worth the record books.
It's pretty phenomenal. We're finding a demolished altar right next to that building too, the horns of an altar. And we have ceramic pomegranates, which is a motif of the tabernacle. 7 sacred fruits when you come into the land. You're going to have dates and figs and olives and so forth. But only the pomegranate goes into the presence of God. The pomegranate goes into the Holy of Holies. On the hem of the priest's garment, you've got bells and pomegranates. So what are we finding? Ceramic pomegranates with little attachment hooks on them. Now, can I prove that hung on Eli's robe? I can't prove that. I can just say the Bible says that there were pomegranates on the high priest's robe, and that we're finding them.
Well, I just imagine they were embroidered. You're saying that they were maybe hung like a bell.
That's right.
Get out of town.
Yeah, and maybe even the pomegranate is sort of shaped like a bell.
It is. It's like a little bulb that has
a calyx, flowering out.
Yeah. Flowering out. And I saw them in a shop the other day. We were walking in Jerusalem, and I saw that all of these shapes that were like that, but they weren't red. They didn't look like fruit, and they make a lot of that shape because it's considered holy. No.
Okay, here's the point. It has to do with the big word is fecundity. It means like the potential for fertility, for reproduction, okay? And let's face it, in biblical times, if your crops are not fertile, if your livestock are not fertile, if your wife is not fertile, you don't survive.
Right.
Fecundity
is a big deal.
It is a huge deal. And the number of seeds in a pomegranate, by the way, 613. Okay. And I don't know the reason why, but the theory perhaps is that there's 613 commandments in the Hebrew Bible. There's 613 seeds. From my perspective, maybe it's more like...
Joe, we need one more commandment. We got to make 613.
Who lost that seed? You can count them.
God deals a lot with the seed. The
Exactly.
seed is a very important
Yeah.
motif in Christian.
As long as the earth
and
endures,
Judaism.
there will be seed time and harvest.
Right.
Yeah. You can count the number of seeds in a pomegranate, but you can't count the number of pomegranates in a seed. And I think that's the idea, okay?
That just blew my mind.
We're eating pomegranate this afternoon, by the way. We got to have one.
Is there a riddle here?
Even Solomon's temple has 200 pomegranates on the inside, no other fruit. So we're finding those.
That's
is the thing.
described in the Bible.
Absolutely. So what we call this inductively, all these little pieces of evidence, not one of them by itself proves anything, but
Right.
when you take them all together, here's the other big word,
Yes.
is verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude. We read it in the text and we find what we would expect to find
Right.
if it were a reliable source.
Right. What you're doing is you're proving the Bible. Like you're
Yeah, I mean,
you're
we don't.
basically laying down proofs, small proofs.
We don't.
that
That's not
add
the
up,
goal,
right?
but it is one of the products of it. You know, we're going to excavate. No matter what's there,
Sure.
we're going to excavate it,
Sure.
and what's there is there.
If you find a prune, you're going to say, "Oh,
Right.
look, there's a prune."
There's a prune. But I can just say, after excavating many years in the land of the Bible on both sides of the river,
Right.
that I've never found a contradiction, and I have found hundreds of synchronisms.
Yes.
So
There's
that's my
another big-
experience.
you just love the big words. You just toss them out.
There's no extra charge for that.
Induction, synchronism. I can't even keep up. Okay, any avocados? Because that's one of my favorites.
On the buffet last night, they were awesome. I ate several.
You're funny.
I could live on those.
Tell me about the dig. I find it fascinating. You've got 130 volunteers. They're not volunteers, folks. They actually paid to come here
Yeah.
and muck around in the dirt all day on
That's right.
behalf of the dig.
Yeah.
And the dig is supported also by a big donation, one big donor.
No. I
No.
mean, it's small individual donors, really. Each one of these folks that come, you know, many of them buy into our vision and they want to help support us. Sometimes there are big donors that they'll ask me, like last year, someone just asked me, "What do you want?" And I said, well, I want a new 4-wheel vehicle, what we would call a gator, to move equipment around the site. And so he wrote me a check for it. So if anybody wants to ask me what I want for next year, you know,
What do you
please,
want for
please,
Christmas?
please do. I've got a Christmas list. My goal, Sam, in starting this dig was to do it with excellence. I think God values excellence. Psalm 8 says, "O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth." And so I wanted us to be vanguard, cutting edge excellence. And I think
You've
that's what we've
achieved
done.
that
Yeah.
with your with your newfangled way of accomplishing wet washing.
Right.
So I'm just going to say wet washing is when they take the dirt, the stuff that they've accumulated from the dirt. They sift the dirt away, and then they wash the shards or the remnants.
matrix
or
that's left,
The little, well, you can't use big, we don't know matrix.
The stuff that's left,
That's a
yeah.
movie. The stuff that, look, I've got it under my fingernails. The stuff that's left, hopefully it's like fabulous shards of pottery or what have you, pomegranates, and you wash it, but you've developed a whole sort of a system that
Right.
almost industrializes.
Yeah.
You know, so you're getting work done faster and more economically and more efficiently.
Right. We don't get a second chance, Samantha. We are destroying the evidence when we excavate, and we're making it inaccessible to others. Nobody can come behind me and redo this. So if I
No,
don't
in
do
fact,
it right,
part of me is like, it's a little bit sad because there are people who spent a lot of time building the walls that you're taking down. You're like, these
Yeah.
Roman walls, they have to go because I want to see what's underneath.
but they should be happy, those people.
No.
Those are also Jews. That's Second Temple period Jews as opposed to
Those
First
were the
Temple period Jews.
slaves.
Those guys didn't even know that they were building on top of the Mishkan,
no,
you know?
yeah.
So I'm sure they're rejoicing if they're part of the great cloud of witnesses, like, hallelujah, 2,000 years we've been living with this
We've
shame,
been
you know?
waiting for Scott Stripling.
Finally arrives, yeah.
So the wet washing technique has been a huge success here.
Yeah.
In fact, other people are emulating it. So kudos on that.
Thank you.
It's really an amazing accomplishment. And I've seen it. He's got like fire hoses hooked up to an overhead hose system. I mean, it's primitive, but effective.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's primitive. Duh. It's an
Right.
archaeological dig. So you've got 130 volunteers. They pay their own way. They fly themselves here. They pay for their room and board in a hotel that you so they all live together.
Yep.
They come whatever timing works for them, that gets cleared by your group, right? And they get cleared to stay in the hotel, and then they just work as a team.
Yeah.
They get up at 5 a.m. Do they leave for the site?
We leave at
5?
5.
So breakfast at 4 or 4:30. Leave for the site at 5 in these big tour buses, and they get here and they literally play in the dirt all day in the sun. But you can see there's a lot of shaded area. You put a lot of shade up, and they're just sifting through dirt, moving stones. I saw 2 guys. One guy was teaching the other guy how to lift the stone using his legs. Don't use your back. And then you lift it, and then you get underneath it and lift it higher to put it up on the wall to get it out of the pit. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Well, some of the older volunteers, they have such life experiences and such knowledge. It's so beautiful because we've got a bunch of college kids here, 14 universities that are coming and going.
John from Tampa, who's 70.
Right, 77. You know,
7 years old, and
they mix. You know.
Yep, and he told me he's been on. There's another dig that's not far from here that he used to go to, shut down by COVID this year. He found you online and said, I'll try that one. He's thrilled. He's just a happy little bug here, just digging in the dirt and sifting through.
Yeah.
Okay, one last thing before we have to go. I understand that you were shooting and with this actor guy, and he literally just looked down and found something. Do you still have it in your pocket?
True life is stranger than fiction. So we were filming with this actor dude, and I'm kind of explaining why pottery is important on a dig, you know, because it's indicative in each time period. It helps us understand things. And then this actor that you know pretty well, he goes, oh, like this, and he reaches down and he pulls out this little piece of pottery. And I said, oh my, Kevin.
Look at that.
That is either the time of Joshua, late Bronze Age, or it's Islamic. I know that sounds weird because they're way apart, but this style is only in those 2 periods. So we'll have to study it.
And he literally said, I'm keeping that. That one's mine. And he put it in his pocket.
Well, you know, we've got to analyze that. I've got plenty of broken pieces of pottery I can give him, okay? But I got to look at this one. And if it's something we're not going to keep, I'll send it to you.
So now I literally am walking around with my eyes glued to the dirt because I have to find one now. Scott
It's
Stripling,
there.
How do people find you online? How do people find out about the dig and stuff?
3 websites. They can learn about us at digshiloh.org. That's the website. Digshiloh.org with an H, Shiloh. And my personal website is scottstripling.net. And then the school website is thebibleseminary.edu if they want to take an archaeological course or something like that. Thebibleseminary.edu, scottstripling.net, and digshiloh.org.
We'll put them in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me on the Sam Sorbo Show. And as usual, if you want to come back to Israel with us next year in May 2023, we're coming back, and we're really hoping that we can offer maybe a half-day dig for people on the tour just to come and experience, because no experience necessary. No. They will train you, and you might find the next.
Yeah, right.
You never know.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Shalom.